Hi everybody, thanks for joining us for another Facebook Live event. I am Jessica Carrier with the Joe Davis Conservation Foundation, and this morning we are here at the Valley of Eden Bird Sanctuary located just south of Stockton, Illinois, right off of Resch Creek Road. With us here today we have our site steward at the Valley of Eden Bird Sanctuary, Ben Steffes.
Hello.
And if you're ever out here, you will meet Ben. He's a lot of times mowing the trails or removing invasive species. So if he's a familiar face out here. So if you come out here, you'll probably see Ben.
Yep. Feel free if you have any questions at all, you can flag me down. I'm happy to answer anything. I'm always happy to answer anything you got. Place is always open to the public from dawn till dusk. It has lots of different things you can see, whether you're looking for birds, which we're going to go over, or if you're looking for just regular nature, you can just come out and bring your family and have some fun. So I'll turn it back over to Jess. Thanks for watching.
And we also have with us Friends member Barbara Bernard. Barbara's our bird expert today. She's going to give us a little bit of information about how to get started birding. So here at the Valley Bird Sanctuary, if you come out here, I want you to remember to take a picture behind the giant picture frame. If you see down the trail over here, we have a giant picture frame on the trail. If you take a picture in that giant picture frame, you can participate in our family framing challenge. This giant picture frame is going to travel around to the different JDCF preserves throughout the summer, and it will live at the preserve for 2 weeks at a time before it moves on to the next preserve. And all you have to do to participate in the challenge is take a picture and tag us on Facebook. If you tag us in at least 3 of the 6 JDCF nature preserves, then you will win a free annual membership. So come on out, bring your family, take a picture, and tag us on Facebook. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over to Barbara Bernard. She's going to tell us how to get started birding.
Thanks, Jess. What I'm going to try to do today is to take someone who wants to start birding, but maybe never had the opportunity to do that or doesn't have anyone help them, a family member or a fellow birder that can get them out and get them started and get them comfortable, to get them so that they feel like they're ready to go. And we're going to go over what you need and some techniques to help you with your beginning birding. So you don't need very much to bird. It's a pretty easy activity, and it's a really good activity to get people outdoors. It's an activity that you can kind of own yourself because you can make it completely non-competitive or you can make it competitive. You can go by yourself if that's your thing, or you can find other people that like to bird and go out in a bird group for some camaraderie. But the big thing is it gets people outdoors, which is something that's very sadly lacking in many lives today, is exposure to the outdoors and to some of the wildlife that we have here in Joe Daviess County. So what I thought I would do, you basically need 3 things to go birding. Well, actually 2. You definitely need a pair of binoculars. We're going to go over that. And then you need some kind of way to identify what birds that you've seen or are expecting to see. And with that, we use field guides and we use bird apps. And so those are the kind of the 2 things that you actually need, and we'll go over that. But there's other things that help you bird safely and help you bird more effectively. So I thought what I would do today is I brought my birding backpack as if I were going to bird at the Valley of Eden Bird Sanctuary today, and everything that I would have brought with me in order to accomplish that. So obviously I have my binoculars on already. I'm all good to go. But I have my little backpack here, my trusty backpack. I've had it for years and years and years. And so in addition to my binoculars, I do have a field guide. I have lots of bug spray, 3 different kinds, although we haven't needed it out here this morning very much. I have sunscreen. I have a bottle of water because we're probably going to be walking around if we go birding and it's hot and humid and you need to keep hydrated. I have a lens cloth to clean my binoculars in case they get smudged or dirty. And I have a phone, and I have the phone for a couple reasons. One is especially if you're birding by yourself for safety reasons, you may need to call if you hurt your ankle or whatever, but also because there's some good bird apps that you can put on your phone that will help you identify birds and also have the bird calls on them. So that's what I would take with me. As far as clothing, I usually wear a hat. I took it off to video because I think you can see my face a little bit better. But we usually recommend long pants, sturdy shoes, particularly if they're waterproof, because a lot of times birding is done early in the morning and it's dewy or wet. Now keep your feet dry. Long sleeve shirts to help protect you from ticks in the sun. This is a bug shield buff, which I like to wear when I'm out, especially in the mornings. It kind of helps defend the bugs just a little bit. And I have sunglasses, and so protecting yourself from the sun is kind of important, and from the bugs is important because we do have a fair amount of Lyme disease and some of the other tick-borne and mosquito-borne diseases in Joe Daviess County, so you want to use those things to protect you. So let's get back to figuring out what we need to bird. And the most important thing is a pair of binoculars. Binoculars they range in price a lot. You can get a decent pair of binoculars for $150. You can spend upwards to $4,000 on binoculars. They do increase in quality as you increase in price, but you can get a very, very good pair of binoculars to bird with for between $300 and $600. These are my original ones. I had them for years and years and years. They probably look like it. A pair of Nikon Monarchs. They are going for around $600 or $700 right now, but I birded with these for years and years and years and was perfectly happy. There are smaller, lighter weight models that are even less expensive, especially for children, to not spend a lot of money in case something happens to them or in case they don't hold their interest in birding. And then you've got, higher end ones that people move up to when they end up deciding that all they really want to do for the rest of their life is bird, like these. You want to get the best binoculars that you can afford once you've decided you enjoy the activity, because they will open up more opportunities to see more birds, see them more effectively, and enjoy them more. So maybe most birders start out with some pretty inexpensive binoculars. If they find out it's something they're going to stick with, they oftentimes will bump up to a higher class of binoculars so they can enjoy the activity a little bit more. Places to buy them, you can buy them online. And if you know what you want, that's a fine way to do it. But if you want to try the binoculars and get a little bit more information about them ahead of time, I would recommend that you go to one of the big box sporting stores like Bass Pro, Cabela's, or Scheels. They usually have really good optics departments and people that are trained to help you find a pair of binoculars. Once you tell them what your needs are and what your price range are, they can usually show you several different pairs of binoculars that you can then try at the store. So that's a good way to do it. If you've already picked them out, getting them online, there's really nothing wrong with it. Most of the warranties that come with binoculars are through the binocular company itself, not where you purchase them. So if you're trying to do a little bit more searching as to what kind of binocular you want, then there's some really good websites online. Audubon and Cornell All About Birds are both websites that have really good information about starting to bird and about buying binoculars, including every couple of years. Both of those places do a rating of a lot of binoculars based on price range as to how many stars in each price range a certain model got. So it really helps you get information about them and get you kind of an idea what the best pair of binoculars you can afford for the amount of money that you want to spend. When you go to get your binoculars, there's a couple of things that are kind of important that you were going to want to know. And if you can see here, there's always going to be a set of numbers on your binoculars. Usually, in this case, and usually underneath what kind of model they are, you'll see a set of numbers. And this is a 10 by 42 by 42, maybe a 10 by 50. And those numbers are important to decide what size of binocular you want. The first number, in this case 10, is magnification. An 8 would be a magnification of 8. In other words, if you looked at a bird with a naked eye, you would see it as a certain size. If you look at it with an 8 binocular, it's going to be 8 times bigger. If you look at it with a 10 binocular, it's going to be 10 times bigger. So what that affects is the 8s be a little bit better for close-in birding, kind of normal birding, the stuff that you do out in the grassland, in the trees and bushes. That's going to serve well there. A 10 is made more for people that are going to distance birding, say for waterfowl on lakes, or if you go to a hawk migration station in the fall to watch the hawks migrate, it's going to get those faraway birds a little bit better. Either one is going to work fine for you. It's a matter of preference. These are 8s. These are 10s, these are 8s. So, it's just kind of a matter of what works best for the pair of binoculars when you try them out. The second number, which is a bigger number, 42 in this case, another common number would be 50, is actually the measurement in millimeters of the diameter of this big lens on the other end, the objective lens. And what that controls is the amount of light that comes into the binocular. So these are 42s, as are these. They do come in 50s, and you'd think, well, don't you want more light? But the bigger the diameter of that lens is, the heavier the binocular is, and the more it shows if you don't have real steady hands, or your hands get tired quickly when you're birding. When it shakes, it's going to magnify that shake a lot worse than the 42 would. So when you go to get a pair of binoculars, you're probably going to end up with an 8x42 or a 10x42. When you have your binoculars then, and you get them, they're going to come with a little case, some protective lens cap, and a neck strap. Most of them just come with a neck strap. And so this would just go on like this, and you would carry your binoculars just this way. If you're just going to be out birding a little bit and you've got a lightweight pair of binoculars, these straps is just great. If you are going to bird a long time, your binoculars are heavier, you're going to be out 3-4 hours. This setup here that I'm wearing is actually a harness for binoculars. It kind of turns it into almost kind of a backpack. It puts the weight on your shoulders rather than your neck. Tired and sore from the birding, and it also doesn't flop around as you walk. So it's kind of a neat little thing to add if you're doing a lot of birding. When you get your binoculars, one of the things you're going to notice is they have something called an eye cup at the end. This eye cup is up, this eye cup is down, and they just twirl back and forth. Where that comes in very importantly is if you wear glasses to bird. If you wear glasses to bird, your binoculars are going to, the lens of your binocular is going to sit flush on the lens of your eyeglass. So you want a pair of eye cups that move well. And if you do wear glasses, I would recommend that you actually go to one of those stores to get help picking them out so that you can try them, because there are kinds of binoculars that you might get them online, and when you get them home and try them, some of them don't pair well with eyeglasses, and when you put them up to an eyeglass, you end up with a black floating vision inside the binocular that doesn't go away very well. So if you wear glasses, I would recommend that you pick them out on, in person. All binoculars, usually at the top somewhere is the focus. So you're going to look through here and you're going to use your hand to focus at the top. There's that one. On this particular model, it's a little bit bigger, a little bit longer, so that's the focus on this particular model. So basically, that's all you need to know about getting binoculars. And so once you've got your binoculars, the next thing you're going to need are some bird guides, because there are 10,000 birds in the world, around 2,400 in North America, and there's 400 just in Illinois alone. So that's a lot of birds. So if you're just starting out, you're going to want to simplify things as much as you can. So there are thousands of bird guides. And so if you've never birded at all before, here at Valley of Eden, if you come out to practice, we actually have really cool photography birds you can expect to see. And it's based on habitat. We have a large grassland out here. So we've got your grassland birds, and you can take this with you, you can memorize it, and so when you see a bird, you've got a better chance of being able to ID it. You've got your woodland savanna birds on the other side, so you can go out and bird there, and you know that these birds are probably going to be, and you're more likely to get them identified with something really simple like that. The next step up would be a very local bird guide. This is the Birds of Illinois. It's a great little bird guide. It only has the species that you'd expect to see in Illinois. And so you're only flipping through, and it's color guided, which is really cool. You're only flipping the birds that you know could potentially be here, okay? The birds of North America, which is a lot. There's a lot of birds in here. There's probably 2,400 birds in here. So for somebody that's just starting out and doesn't know their birds, this is something that's great to have at home for reference. It's great when you start birding more and you travel. You don't have to take a bunch of different field guides all over the place, because this one's got everything to North America. But it's a lot of birds to start with, beginning birder. One of the ways you can tone that down a little bit, this is one of my favorite field guides. This is the Sibley Field Guide of Eastern North America. So instead of being all of North America, it's just Eastern. So that would encompass Illinois. They make a Western one as well. So you can really get a lot of different bird guides, but I would recommend that you start small, start simple. If you have a special interest in types of birds that you know already, you can get into things like this. This whole thing is nothing but raptors, which is our hawks, vultures, and eagles. So really good photography of those. So they make these for shorebirds. Literally every type of bird has its own little individual group if you become interested in something like that and want to go farther. Here's the Warbler Guide, kind of a big book. A lot of warblers, and people, when they've birded for a while, that's their challenge oftentimes is learning warblers. So those things are available as well. So it's good to have that with you. But I think what really helps when you start to bird is to study a little bit. And this is my absolute favorite book for prepping yourself to go out to bird. This is Crossley's ID Guide, and here's what I like about this. It actually has photos of the birds. They're not little pictographs of birds, they're actually photos of the birds, and he's photographed them in their natural habitat. So when you're looking at these and working on learning these birds, you are actually seeing them in the pictures in real life, in real time, where you would expect to see them out in the wild. Okay, so it really kind of helps. For instance, here's the sedge wren, which we have here on the grassland. Shows all different little postures and ages, and it shows them sitting up on the reedy vegetation in the grassland, which is exactly what they do here. So this book is awesome. This is a book that you leave on your coffee table or your kitchen table and you flip through it. And when you want to learn what birds you're going to probably see when you go out to an area, it's just a really great way to prep yourself like that. The next thing that works really well are bird apps. A really good beginner's bird app is the Merlin Bird ID app, which is a free app through Cornell. It's a really neat beginning app because you can key it down for only certain species, for only certain geographical areas, like you would do the Midwest or the Eastern Midwest. And so it's only going to select those birds that you're going to probably see. And then what it leads you through a series of 5 or 6 questions: what the bird looked like, what color it was, where did you see it, and what it was doing. And then it gives you all the choices of birds it could potentially be. And so from there you can either figure it out or you can use one of your field guides to figure out what you just saw. So that's really helpful for beginning birders. The other one that I really like, and I have, is the Sibley Bird App, which is basically this book in a bird app. So I love that one, and what I really love about it is it also has the bird. This is the bobolink, which is singing out here behind us anyway. Real common out here at Valley of Eden. And it plays their songs. So if you're trying to learn songs as well, or you hear a song and you're not sure what it is, it will help you. Birders use songs and calls of birds all the time to identify them. And so eventually most people want to start with that as well. So now we've got our binoculars, now we've got our field guide. There are some other websites for beginning birders that you might want to look at. Again, Audubon and Cornell, all about birds. Those are both have really good online classes. They have a lot of information on there about how to start to bird. The Cornell All About Birds has a actual beginning birding course. And I think it runs $30 or $40, but you can watch it over and over with a lot of information on there. So you can Google a lot of things about starting to bird and you'll pull up some really good websites. Okay, so now how do we bird? So you've got your binoculars, you got your field guide, you did a little bit of research and you kind of know what you're doing, and you're going to go out and bird. So a lot of people think when you start birding that you put your binoculars up and you just for birds. That doesn't work very well usually. So what works is to be quiet, to walk out into an area where you're going to bird quietly, and to stand. And you're going to do 2 things when you're standing there. First of all, you're going to hold your binoculars so you're ready. And then you're going to stand and listen quietly. You're going to listen for calls and songs of birds or rustling noises, because that's how you find the birds. They're going to be in trees, they're going to be in grass, they're going to be in shrubs, and they oftentimes aren't going to be. So you're going to listen for noises of birds to help pinpoint where they are. And you're also going to scan slowly with your eyes, slowly, for movement. Right now I see a lot of birds flying. I see a couple of birds moving in treetops. So you're going to stop, listen, and scan. Then when you find a bird, there's a right way and a wrong way to try and see it through your binoculars. You're already here, you got your binoculars in your hand, say at that treetop, you're going to lock your eyes onto the bird, and without moving your eyes or head, you're going to lift your binoculars to the bird without moving your eyes. And the bird should be right in the field of vision of your binoculars. That's the right way. Here's the wrong way, which we do a lot, all of us. Crap, there's a bird. Where did it go? It left, or you lost it because you fumbled around and you took your eyes off the bird, and by the time you got your binoculars up there, you didn't even know where it was in the tree, and chances are it flew away. So the correct way to do it is to lock your eyes on, binoculars up. The worst way to do it is to look down to get organized with your binoculars and then try and look up and expect to see the bird again. So practice that a lot. That's a real key issue with when you're birding. And we don't all do it right by any means all the time, but when you do it right, you have a better chance of locking onto the bird and getting to see the bird. Birds don't stand still. They fly away. A lot of times they fly away before you get them locked in binoculars. So they're kind of challenging, but that's part of what makes it fun. But anyway, what you do when you bird is you go out there, you practice the technique, and then you go to places where you're going to see birds. You can start with bird feeders. Those are ideal. In the wintertime at the bird feeders, you can learn so many of our resident birds, which are the birds that stay here year-round, plus a lot of species that come from up north to winter down here. So that's a great way to look at them up close. They're usually pretty friendly when they're at bird feeders, and they get used to human contact, and so it's a good way to do it. You can go in your own backyard. You can go to city parks, state parks, national parks to bird. They all have trails and they're going to be easy access. You can come to any of JDCF's wonderful properties. They all are good birding sites. They all have different habitats, they all have trails through them, and you can bird there. So the potentials for birds are virtually limitless. You can bird from your car traveling without binoculars, and hawks and things like that. So you can bird literally almost anywhere that you don't have to be fancy. You don't even have to really go anywhere. You just start to get out and look at the birds and expand your horizons as you feel more comfortable. So if I were going to bird at Valley of Eden, which I have done many, many, many times, a couple of things to know is there are a variety of habitats here. You can see the vast grassland that we have. On either side of the grassland are savannas, which are more woodlands, and some restored habitat. And then at the far end, there's a lot of woodland, pretty heavy-duty woodland. And so if you were going to come here, the best way to do things would be two things. One is we have a observation deck. You can't quite see it, but it's just right up over the hill there. It's an easy walk. You can go to...
Start with welcome.
Welcome back.
Are we back?
I think we're back.
We hope so. Sorry, I hope you got to see the bobolink because he's better than I am. So to finish up then, if you're birding out here, the other thing to kind of take into consideration is the time of year. Our grassland species, which we're so proud of and so happy to have and so eager to show off, are from about mid-April to mid-July. A pretty intense short breeding season, and they're going to be here and they're going to be singing. You're going to be able to see all the species: the Henslow sparrow, the bobolink, the eastern meadowlark, the field sparrows. Are all here in large quantities. After the middle of July or so, they're just going to disappear. They have other things that they have to go do, and they get ready to migrate in other areas. And so you can come out here. It's the earlier part of the bird season and see a lot of stuff. If you come out in August or September, you may not see a lot of birds. So can kind of keep that in mind. But in those slower times of year, the savannas and the woodlands are great places to bird. So there's always something to do. But if you want to catch our grassland species, you really need to come during their breeding season. And the other tip, speaking of the different habitats, when you're getting ready to bird, if you want to prep yourself for a birding activity, figure out what kind of habitat you're going to be in. Are you going to be in grassland? Are you going to be in woodlands? And do a little Google search, do a little research about what birds in northwestern Illinois you would expect to see in that particular habitat. And you can really narrow down the species of birds that you might see, familiarize yourself with those birds, and it's going to kind of help key in and get those birds identified a little bit faster for you. So I think that's about all I have to cover. If anybody think you're going to do Q&A, if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, so before we go to Q&A, I just want to follow up on what you're saying about the specific species found here at VOE. We have recently made a film. The Friends of Valley of Eden have made a film, and Barbara was part of this too, to kind of highlight which species and what habitat is out here at VOE. So you can find that on our website. We will be posting it also on our Facebook as well. And if you're a JDCF member, you're going to get an email directly for that film. So it's a really cool film. It's called Welcome to the Valley of Eden Bird Sanctuary. So, okay, now we can open it up to questions for Barbara. That was a lot of good information. So if anybody has questions right now, this is a great time to ask.
And while we're waiting for questions, another thing that Ben had pointed out earlier, and I agree with so completely, is this is a great place to hike as well as bird, but also some of the best other wildlife sightings that I've had ever in my life have been when I've been out birding, and he was reinforcing that with the things that he's seen out here while he's been working. Birding gets you outside, it gets you in all these different habitats, it gets you out right in nature, and so you're going to see other really cool things while you're out and about, both plant life and other wildlife. So it's one more positive thing about the activity that I thought I'd throw in.
Okay, we do not have any questions at this time, so.
Okay, if you do have questions, if you're watching this video later on, you can always type them in the comment section, and then we'll come back around later and answer them later also. So thank you guys for joining us today for another Facebook Live event. And thank you, Barbara, and thank you, Ben. This is really great information. So if you guys have more questions, look us up on our website, look us up on Facebook, and keep in touch. Thank you.